Good go. All right. Awesome. So welcome, guys. So Brisbane Azure User Group, February. Hopefully that's the slides I've got today. It is being recorded, so everything you say will be picked up. These microphones are awesome, unless you don't want them to be. It's already started. Brilliant. So we're on February. Okay, that's a good start. So big thank you out there for our sponsors. Without these guys, this would not be possible. So Codify, Pizza, Beer, and all the support they provide, and Microsoft, the venue. So they're really good. So big thank you out to these guys. And for those of you who are online, you can just imagine the pizza because that's all you're getting. But you still get to hear the presentation. So it is a community event, and we really want to get people involved. You don't have to be an expert, but like I'm here, right? So you don't have to be an expert. Ray, that'll make Ray happy. We just want to hear your experiences, right? So it doesn't have to be amazing, flash, new technology. I know a lot of people do present some of the new stuff, but that's probably not as interesting as somebody's experiences with Azure. And what are the challenges? What are the benefits? You know, how does it compare? So just real down to earth experience is immensely valuable for the group, because this is all about helping build that community. We do have potentially 1 or 2 openings available. So if you're keen, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, so drop us a link. Oh, sorry, too fast. BAUG@outlook.com.au. Yep. Is that .au, Dan? Anyway.
Yes, it is.
It is. Okay. Right. Over to you, Dan. This one's yours.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, if anybody's looking for a new adventure, we are always looking for really talented people, especially if you've got interest, especially skills in those areas. Okay, so yeah, absolutely, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out to me if you want. And thanks.
Great bunch of guys too. So enjoyable people to work with. I've worked with a lot of people from Deloitte. Really nice people, and very switched on. So it's always good.
I'm not saying
you were going to make a comment there. So, all right. So I'm going to apologise in advance. The updates today are super boring because I've got no pictures. I might have had one picture, but there's a few things that have happened in February. You look puzzled.
No. The load testing.
Load testing. There's a couple of things that have happened in load testing. So 2 different articles over the last month. You can now create directly in the portal. You can create some load tests, so you don't need to use your JMeter scripts and get fully into load testing, which is, well, it's good, right? So for the people that don't necessarily have those test engineer skills, this now gives you a path to actually get some load testing up and going. It's not super complex load testing, but you're able to put in a bunch of tests and do a bunch of load tests without a huge amount of knowledge. You can now have up to, you can now have up to 50 test criteria, fail criteria in your test scripts. So it gives you a fair bit of expanse in what you can do with these load tests. Azure Arc for Visual Studio Code has gone GA. So that just helps you spin up that development environment. So if you want to get that cluster up and running, get stuff going, start building your applications with Visual Studio Code, this is just an easy path to get things up and going in a simpler way, because yeah, we all know Kubernetes, it's not always fun. There's a bit of work involved, but this should make it a little bit easier. So virtual network encryption is now coming. So yes, it's not yet here in Australia. We should point that out, but it is coming. It's gone GA in some of the regions. It's in preview in some of the others. It's not quite yet here in Australia. It is constrained to a set of VMs that are required for that. But if those conditions all fit, it will do encryption between the endpoints. So that's really cool. Starting to make things, obviously it's already encrypted, but you can get encryption on encryption. It's cool. Circuit breaker is now an APIM. So it's in preview, it's not GA yet, but this now makes it easier to implement that circuit breaker pattern for APIM. Yeah. We've got Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.6 has gone GA. Sorry, the Azure Monitor VM Insights for Red Hat has gone GA. So getting a bit more of that telemetry out of your VMs is good. Kubernetes service. Look, there are a bunch of things that happen in Kubernetes. So I kind of just smashed them all together because otherwise you just hear me talking about Kubernetes and Kubernetes. So the kube reserve resource optimization, that seemed pretty interesting to me. Like to reduce your memory load by up to 20%. It's a significant number. Upgrade support in Istro, so you can roll those minor versions using the Canary upgrade process, which allows you to just, in place upgrade, but not major, just minor. Visual Studio Code extension update, creating, there's a bunch of different features that are dropped into that Visual Studio Code extension. So, reconcile, port, granular packet capture, TCP dump. And then lastly, but not least, plug in CA. So if you want to bring your own certificates, that's a path. I'd probably, unless you really want that, I'd probably recommend avoiding it. It's a lot of work. But if you need it, that's there. App service for Linux now has NFS support for attaching a file share. There was previously, now I've just mental blanked. There was previously file share support. This is just extending for NFS, but if you're interested, it already supported a type of file share, but now you have another one. So Azure Functions now supports Java 21. For all your Java devs, that's pretty good. Distributed tracing for durable functions. So this is just, here's your picture. So this is meant to entertain the mind, make you think that this is not super boring. So this one here is just a bit of an image of, what that tracing can give you from those durable functions and sticking them all together, which is great. You need more information when you're running functions. Virtual networking, network manager topology view has gone GA, I believe. So this is about visualizing that network topology. I'm not going to read them out. These are all your resources that it works with, but all your networking resources. So you can get that view of what's going on in your networking space, which is pretty cool. All right, that's pretty much it for me. So we've got a few resources that feel free to jump on. So we've got Slack, we've got YouTube. There's a few links to some training if you're interested in learning a bit more about Azure. They're pretty cool. And just some of the recommended, these are the blogs you always see me recommend. They're still pretty good. Without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to JJ. So solution architect with a focus in app modernization integration. He's going to do a walkthrough of the new integration services, some of the new parts in the integration world within Azure. So welcome, JJ.
Thanks. Hopefully I don't trigger that beep. I think I used SPC.
Yes, that's
Family.
I'll just get that. Still here in the process.
Oh, so we can share a bit.
Sure.
And there's a huge big sound before. Okay, I think it didn't do it. That's okay. Share screen. So that's just a test. This wallpaper is for my wife for Valentine's Day. Yeah, thanks. Long time ago in New Zealand, the northern side of South Island. I normally recommend either arcade places I love to be. So yeah, this is one of them. Cool. Let me get this thing running. Oops. I hope I didn't do
Ah,
That is a.
it. Sorry. Did you find the bug?
No, it's just a very funny thing that lined up with the pattern on the
Finish
window.
the
When you
previous
go
slide.
back one slide again.
What,
No,
what,
it's-
this one? Oh, don't worry.
Don't worry about it. We'll-
Yeah. Or there will be window switching every now and then. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Damien, for the intro. So my name is Jia Ji. You can call me JJ too. And I'm working as a solution architect in consulting. And for many, many years, less than 10 for sure in Azure, because I think Azure in Australia wasn't there by until 2014 or something. So, but from 2015, 16, I started working on Azure, and they changed a lot, obviously. But one thing really hasn't changed too much is the integration services I've been working on. As Damien Dan knows, and used to be Azure Function coming up, and then Azure Logic App and Azure API Management, they all come up. They all do different things, and eventually we have the I think I mentioned last time a few years ago. Oh, sorry, recent years. And Microsoft start to call all of the offerings as Azure Integration Services. So these to make sure the audience, our customers can know what these offerings are good at, and also it give a good market impression that our offering actually flexible, but it's a complete integration offer. Sorry, Microsoft offering. Yeah. Anyway, so just back to want to check one thing. Does everyone know what Azure Integration Services is? If you have heard or worked on it, can you put your hand up? So I'll quickly go through this slide. Then, so normally, if we talk about integration platform on the market, there are a lot of famous ones, and Azure is a famous one. But Azure integration offering focus on a few things, and no difference than any other major integration platform. Really, first thing, we need the API management platform and the API gateway. That's the API governance policies. That's API management. That's a very important. I'll go this clockwise, and we all need workflow engine, like orchestration engine, basically. And the transaction need a lot of orchestration. Most of the integration system has to do it. We have Logic app. And if you're familiar with the serverless computing with almost like function as service, so a lot of micro workers, and we have a lot of coding solutions they can do orchestration, they can do reactive programming, and that's normally a vital component because most of the integration we have to code in, and Azure Function is the answer, coding of the orchestration and event-driven programming. And we have batch integration in many integration platforms too. Moving data in batch manner nightly or every time the schedule window, or you do a copy from one place to the other, and we have Azure Data Factory. Last two are equally sort of important. They're all doing and topics, and there's any integration system you can think of, they will always have that in that. If they don't, they normally choose another third party to work with. and there are loads of them. But we have service bus to cater the fewer topics, and we have event grid to handle large scale events. So API orchestration, coding, and low code orchestration, coding orchestration, and batch messaging. That's and eventing. That's the whole integration service offering. So if you are not familiar, I would like to mention we also have a landing zone accelerator. Yeah. So the landing zone is almost like platform architecture. Any integration platform you chose, probably your organization has platform architects for data, for integration, for identity. Same thing. But Microsoft offer accelerators. Offer the GitHub repo is really good. Dan did a video before last year, and it's really good. They have identity consideration, network consideration. They give you a template to provision the infrastructure as code in Azure, which is really good. So that integration from, if you imagine, the capability are all there, all good. So, and as we know that the nature in Azure is they are flexible. You pay what you get. Sorry, you do what you use what you need to use, and you pay what you use. So it's very flexible. There's no tough, like the licensing model is almost like Lego. You don't have to spend a lot of time calculate licensing, very complex as many other systems. Obviously, we have a Microsoft ecosystem. So a lot of integration with if you're living in the Microsoft world and you almost in heaven, there are a lot of natively just work seamless. And also we have a lot of, for example, these event grid functions, they have a lot of bindings and connect, out of box bindings with many services like blob storage and so on and so forth. Logic Apps has many connectors to the third party and Microsoft ecosystem as well. So you got that really good landscape. So it's a very complete offering. It's a leader in many conundrums. But why is that I want to talk about this? And if you notice, the title is streamlined, because I think there are something still there. There's always something can be improved in any product, and same as Microsoft. If you in this world, if you don't invest something, that's we are going to fall behind. What happened in? Have anyone watched the Ignite in maybe keynote or any particular session? Can I have a? Okay. I think you probably see AI all over the place. And part of the motivation to do this talk is, I totally agree, AI is going to be everywhere, no doubt. Personally, I work for client on demos and prototypes and pilots for them before, in the Azure OpenAI world. So no doubt. But as one of the developer background person, also integration is always a very key capability in any company. In my opinion, I think it should be worthwhile knowing. They did spend a lot of time invest in Azure Integration Services as well. And yeah, I'm not sure you are aware, there's in the almost same time as Ignite happened, they put a lot of videos on YouTube, live stream YouTube and platform to talk about all of the integration services offering they have released during that period, more or less during that period. And I don't think that I haven't seen a lot of, obviously a lot of them are preview, same as what I'm going to talk, but a lot of them hasn't been that, previous years, there are not a lot of these release. And also the changes are not as trivial as previous years in integration too. And almost every core offerings has something updated. So for example, Event Grid, they support MQTT protocol now. And they also support, in some way, they support private link, which they previously have absolutely no way. API management in the self-host gateway, they support gRPC at the moment. Right now, and it's only in self-hosted gateway, but it's something they are trying to really doing well. So there are a lot of things released. So why do I choose to talk about the things on that list? And I'll go one by one. They are all preview features too. Like I said to John before, normally we don't recommend client to do preview features as a consultant, as a solution architect. I don't want to bring trouble to my clients and developers, but how I see this from my eyes to see these preview features, I see a new way to see how Azure works from integration perspective. It's almost like a label. We can put in the box, look at the manual, I got it. I can do a lot of things. But when I build it, I saw a YouTube video, I saw people post pictures of the product. I see another different way how to build integration. I might build faster, I might build easier, but it's a new angle. From developer perspective, some of the feature might looks really trivial, but I think it makes the integration service more friendly to the whole enterprise ecosystems. When I say, and this ecosystem means people as well, so including like the stakeholder, non-technical stakeholders sometimes. So let's start from the first one. Can I see a hand up who has using API management at the moment? Oh, you said your place is the AWS shop. Anyway, yeah.
They call it Zoom.
Yeah. Okay. So regardless, I think this is a this is a view probably if you work on API management. Yeah, thanks, Bernie. Probably you will see this very, very often. You have multiple environments of API management, so it's you can deploy in packaged way. It's really common. But we also have APIs. Doesn't have to expose in Azure API management. Some of them just expose. Ultimately, if you think about, I do have customers really not only on Azure, they might use other way to do APIs. And if you think about the APIs nowadays, the definition is different. The GraphQL is popular and gRPC is relatively popular. I haven't actually used it in production yet, but it's supported very by a lot of primary tools. So if you and many of them are not necessarily on Azure. I have clients transition from one integration to Azure, as same as any systems. When you many other vendors, they spend years maintaining this, so they need time to transition. So some of them don't want to tangle in a vendor, and they have multiple API management too. So how that we normally have in this world, I do have clients can see all of the APIs in their ecosystem, but there was no way you can use Azure to see that, unless you import in API management. But we got to think about API management is more about governing the real governance, like rate limiting, policy securities, and certificate. There are a lot of real functional things they are doing. Notice the first thing to talk about is this Azure API Center. And I hope this picture, the point is to clearly trying to say the API Center is different than API management. And it's not a complete product in a way. The reason I'm trying to emphasize this is spending me quite a long time, because it's the first time someone tell me, there's an API Center, I just chose it because I thought sounds like the same. Or maybe they are going to rename. So actually, I didn't give a lot of attention until I hear it again. I realize it's different. So basically, they are trying to build they trying to aggregate all of the APIs into one hub for one reason, for visibility, or I call this discoverability. And obviously, inventory is a good name too. So the API Center is not competing with API management. They are at least now it's solely for discoverability. And as you see all of the environment, all of the instance, whatever API you have, they can try to aggregate into this one catalog. That's why inventory is really good. So they put custom data. So the pitch is for governance, but I try to downgrade the governance thing because I think when I say governance, it could be governance in security, in API policy perspective. It's not. So it's just adding metadata from, and it's almost like Azure resource tagging. And the other thing, the third thing is portal, similar to it's not as feature rich as API management, but similarly, they are trying to give a portal for developers to look at it. I'll do a demo. Let me see. Just give me a sec. Oops.
So Dan, what was the thing you wanted to point out?
Yeah. I thought it.
Just where the hills floated from one side.
Right off the screen into the window, the hill just lined up.
Oh, right.
So I'll do yeah. So I'll do a reverse way. Resolution is a bit weird on this monitor. That's fine. So just want to quick. This one is really good for us to bear with me. Yeah, this one. Just think about API management catalog, but I only imported a few. As I said, it's purely my own time. So there's not really a lot of time I can make things look really fancy. But I tried a little bit. But basically, what you can see the APIs. Currently in the APIs, there are not huge amount of things. And you can see if you can download the API definition, you can see what they are. There are certain metadata in it. But the point is, my point is, don't bother on this. It looks like Manila, but the point is, if you think about scalability, same as we create a VM, if we just need one VM, we don't need it either. Think about scalability. So think about if you have a lot of APIs in the organization, think about how many APIs you have in your organization. If they can aggregate here, if it's easier for everyone to have a look, and for non-technical whole, that looks really beautiful for now. And I'm sure they will put more features, and they welcome feedback. One thing I want to just show you that they can't support many kind of APIs, so we can import this API in different. Obviously, you can import OpenAI spec for REST and Graph API schemas. Yeah, so or Visto for SOAP. And so they do have quite a few. Sorry, Ernie?
I'm just going to ask, where can the APIs be? Look, with API management, obviously they're in API management, but for API Center, where could the actual APIs be?
The actual APIs could be in anywhere, quite frankly. I'm trying to not mention the competitors' names, but for example, if you just do a .NET app services, expose REST, just web API, SQL web API, you can import too. And I'll show you soon. I'll drag this window. Hold on. Okay. So here is the API Center. Let me get away from it. And you can use Azure CLI to register API too, by the way. You can use many ways to including the API. In fact, because it's for discoverability, you can import API from anywhere. And I'm trying to think if I show you this one, I imported from a open API spec. I literally can just fill in this metadata. So I'll do an edit so you can see. You can from literally anywhere, and the open API spec is actually the source of truth where you're really going. Is that right, Fernie? I think you know the answer.
But I mean, so like Open API specs are good for REST endpoints, but obviously for things like Graph or gRPC, then there'll be other metadata
Oh,
standards
yeah.
as well, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, definitely for REST, then Open API is the go.
Yeah, true. And I use the Open API because there's a feature I have to use it, otherwise it won't work in VS Code extension later on, and really taking me a lot of time to figure out what's going on. But yeah, so this is one. And the API has, you can record a version as well. The version, feel free to jump in, Bernie, because these things, I'm trying to experiment in what these versions are. I wanted to put into V1, but turns out to be, you can put any word, any words that I like. So I just tried. I tried one with V1. I tried one with Pilot. I think it's really depending on how we can try Gold or like or some of the versioning, canary versioning, whatever, I guess. But what's really cool after that, actually, just while we are here, where the versions are is where we can add a definition. Again, I imported one already, but if you, this is an interesting one. So if we add a new one, we will be able to add a Open API spec. I just realized as it's preview, probably you wouldn't be able to add the OAI spec, but this one at least, if you create a new one, you can upload the OAI. Yep. So, and that's where when depending on your depending on type of API, the file you import is different too. Now, there are a lot of good things where maybe I would like to see. Sorry, as from architecture perspective, if I want to see what APIs in, oh no, not again. It happened before.
Might give people experience.
Yeah, fine. This one is okay. Yeah. So basically, if I read the documentation, the official they recommend the environment is where the location of the API are. So you, in this case, it's API management, but you can say Kubernetes or app services. But that's the recommendation when I read the official document. But what I really like is this environment type. So we don't need to say the environment is what, because we have this predefined, which is reasonably okay, cater a lot of environment sort of from our side, environment types, staging environment, and that. I did see, yeah, I thought I did see deprecate somewhere, but so we can create an environment. We can then create an API within that environment. What you can imagine is that metadata is really rich, because when I'm navigating, if you are not using the software, why we navigate, I can't remember anyway. The point is they are really rich in the metadata. We can also define our own metadata. That's when we talk about governance, and I said it's almost like a tag in resources, and what could be cost center is actually one of the example. And we all come up cost center all the time, I think. I think you have seen this is a predefined services, which is kind of better or cool, because we can give a list of choices for them to select. So I pumped a few line of business in there, so you can tag it, and then it will be giving people to know, okay, who is the cost center, and from there they can find out the API owner. They probably can find the API owner themselves, or we can have something called we can define whatever, and it can be approved by email as well. And the metadata has many types too. They also have an object type, which I didn't try. But the point is, with enriched metadata, it will help us to discover these APIs. So you can use the portal to register API. You can use Azure CLI. A few days ago, they just released a new functionality with to import the API management automatically, sorry, not automatically, import the API management APIs into API Center. And that's run by two lines of command. I probably don't want to go to show that, but I have an imported version for now, because I would like to. Right. If I have time, if I'm interested, I got the scripts ready anyway, so we can do the import into API later. Let me check. So, sorry, Ray. Yes.
Just a couple of questions, and sorry to have to be back on
Yeah.
the screen there. The first one, you gave some use cases for the metadata schema, and you talked about things like costs. I think I recall seeing cost center, business unit, and so on like that. There's also tags, which is also a thing that can be put on from there. So the metadata aspect, what is the use case of using that as opposed to tags? There's my understanding is that then in the discoverability of the APIs that the metadata comes through, or is it
I thought the API portal could filter on that. So the API portal I shared at the beginning. I haven't seen. I guess probably they will add on some of the good use at the moment. I haven't checked thoroughly in the API portal. In the portal, you can see the APIs anyway. Maybe there can show metadata, but they can't report on that for now. Or like cost management, you can run the report. They don't do that.
Okay, and sorry to hold the questions part. Under the API, Open API spec, and then you may be in a position as well. I thought there was the spec was for versioning of APIs. There was a V1, V2, whatever, stuff like that. Is that if you register an API at V1 and you go to V2, does magic happen that it knows about the V2?
Not to the point I tried.
Okay, but that's right. No, just curious.
And especially, there was a point to show you import API, because just for my interest, I thought if the future API is going to come in or not, it doesn't look like so we just went off importing the definition really, and they don't sync, right? They don't have a linkage to sync.
That's right.
So very good question. Any other questions? Maybe still boring. The point is we are techies, right? So for technical people, they also develop good features. They're trying to put they have released the extension for VS Code for easier in a way to you don't have to navigate away from VS Code. You can see a lot of goodies, and they also quickly integrate with GitHub Copilot chat, which is really cool. In the sense of world of Agile, the more feature you want to see, the quicker the better, right? So I think here is what I'm going to show you in this. Oh, hold on, I need to drag my screen here. Oh, this is the wrong screen. Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah. All right. I see. Ignore this one for now. So only look at the left. So there is a extension you can download right now from API, the store called API, or just called API Center. And if it's a familiar interface, you can see same as Azure. But the point is they will show you all of the APIs under the API Center. And as a developer, you don't really go to that portal. You can still see a lot of good things. And the reason I use Open API is there are good features for Open API in this particular context. This is the one I showed you in the beginning. Just call the import so I can remember which one to click. This one with a lot of this one is actually also from API management. Interestingly, they gave me a number on this extension, but it didn't. In portal, it just probably called Echo API, the sample in API management. But when I open this in VS Code extension, that's this is the one. This is for the Echo. Anyway, so it's preview anyway. So but they are really easy. The point is trying to keep you within the VS Code. You can do a lot of good things. And let's say this one has a proper open API spec. Yeah. It's productivity. Like I said, it's not necessarily rocket science, but it's really productivity and just make our life a little bit easier. So they will generate us the Swagger page based on this, and you can actually look in a nicer way. And I believe there's a test try out function as well. So I just assume we all use Swagger before, so I didn't bother to set up everything, but just to show the point. The other thing are really good. Again, they're trying to keep you within the IDE. The other thing they really did good is you can generate the API client. They use the extension. How to pronounce it? That extension, COIT. Okay, yeah. So they actually use another extension. So we have to install that extension anyway. But basically, they will generate and they will analyze all of the APIs under this list, and then you can pick on and off what you want to generate. So I in this particular case, I can put them like I can say I can generate a client SDK client for this API operation or not on operation level. So currently I ticked a post. I think I ticked let's tick get, and then you can based on that. There are a few name things. The key thing is you can generate for different languages as well. The next thing you might want to see, because I'm still .NET, more of .NET experience based. If I go to the generated client, I just think keep a mind, keep a thought in the mind, because when I see hard coded URL, I just feel I need to refactor again. But this is not the API Center extensions. It's the other extensions, I think. But the point is, if you think from a continuous improvement, like, there are a lot of things they are improving. And same thing on GitHub Copilot chat. At the moment, you can do API Center, and then you can say, I want to find a Echo API, and they rely on the API Center extension installed in VS Code. As long as you have that connected to your Azure, and they can GitHub Copilot can read your stuff, and then they can do smart things like currently only to do find at least. So not too much, but when I do the research, I saw they have generate or something. I don't know how to trigger that. Maybe they have a different version or something. Or I didn't turn on preview for some reason. I don't know. But I think it's a good thing. If you think about from developer VS Code, the most important thing on VS Code is extensions and GitHub Copilot and chat. Actually, I like chat a bit more. And so yeah, so it's quite promising how much effort they are putting in, how fast they are putting these things in. Yeah, so that's the API Center. That's the first thing I want to talk about. Just on that, can I take a pause and see any other questions?
When you generated client.
Yeah.
Can you go back to that so I can just see the supported languages? You had it. I was studying that very carefully. Yeah, not very sure.
It wasn't there.
I think normally in this case, people trying to, sorry, because the resolution is different. Yeah, I'll just quickly type on these things. I think there is Ruby in it, which is there are a few good languages. Don't know why it's not working this time. Oh, it's working. C#, Go, Swift.
Rust, maybe. Nice.
Yeah.
It's like Java, TypeScript,
Yeah.
vanilla. Vanilla JavaScript.
Not there, looks like. Actually, I have a bias. I perceive the JavaScript was in it until you're trying to read it through.
Yeah.
Somehow that's illusion. Is that okay? Yeah.
So if you generate a source code, let's say you generate Python, then you replace the existing code.
No, it's generally actually. So you know the when I quickly skip a bunch of folder structures. One of them they say which folder you want to generate it in. So actually, and my folder, my workspace is currently pretty vanilla. So I don't override, but I would imagine in the past if you say go there, then might pop up. Give it a try. Yeah, but
Extension key.
probably they'll overwrite because this is not the first time I run this code on this. Yeah, so I think they will overwrite. Yeah, so hopefully that's good. I will. Yeah, and again, really for thinking about not the nitty-gritties, but in general, the intention of these things and the benefit we potentially can get even more. Second one, similar thing is not some rocket science. Same as they call integration environment. And if anyone knows this ISE, logic integration service environment, that's not that, just in case. That because I didn't know how to. Yeah, I thought they could be the same thing because they are so similar words this time, and I thought maybe they are similar in some way. Then why they retired the other? So I realized it's one word totally different. Okay, and this one is for a unified experience. If you remember, I talk about the circles, and I mentioned landing zone. If you have used the bicep files, you have a big bicep file called mend.bicep. And normally we nicely define the whole landing zone very nicely. Similarly, if I have a solution, sometimes I can solution my inner main bicep. And so that the main bicep has a lot of functions I needed for this particular thing, particular solution application I needed. For the rest of them, I package the other way. And whether they are in the same resource groups, maybe not. Yeah. So, but this one is a landing zone in a visual way, and in a more granular in a sense. And the reason is they trying to make sure we can see in Azure as from business sense making more sense because we have I'll show you soon and you will see which what I mean roughly. And it also currently in preview is support API management, logic app, and service bus. So that that's sort of good enough from an end-to-end to demo the intention of this service. So I'll quickly go in to just give me a sec. Okay. Very colorful, beautiful logo. That's the integration environment. So I created an application just for demo. You can imagine, I should make this part of fun anyway, but too bad. Imagine we have, you think, look at this. This is what's the difference between this and resource group, right? But what I'm going to click next might be more useful because when we add this resource into this new logical grouping, we can down to API level, which means if I have a customer API, I don't have to have other APIs in the management in the same logical grouping. So there could be, payment APIs, which I really don't care. In my application, I'm just logging in and querying my user profile, but it doesn't really bother me. So in this case, we only need to see, we can choose to only see these APIs. And this really doesn't give, same as service bus. You will only see the topic you needed. Naming is really bad. You can only see the topic you only need to show in this logical view group. This is a logical viewpoint, not too much functioning yet. as far as I can tell. And how to add this is, and it will be more obvious when I show this. So for example, we want to do API, then you can see we select an API management instance, but then where's my echo? Oh, echo is already in it. So there are two APIs in that API management, sorry, and that's the only one not in. I don't tick them and they are not in. If I tick echo, echo will be in. So because in this cat fact has no correlation to do with my echo. Same as service bus. Service bus we can down to topic level. Sorry. Logic App hasn't done that, but Logic App have something better later on. I'll show you a little bit later. Yeah, so Logic App doesn't do that, but service bus, they can show down to queuing system. So you can see all of the, I didn't know I have so many service bus. That's why I just created a random one. Yeah. Yeah, again, because the topic is there. Is there a queue there? Apology. Anyway, so it really can cut down. If you think about, we have a API, for example, dispatch API. Your API endpoint is dispatcher, and you might have a logic app to do to validation. Once the work order is valid, you pick or you retrieve someone available, then you dispatch that order into service bus. And if you think that end to end, they can all be in this same logical grouping, which good from again from a visual point, it is logically differently grouping rather than a resource. It's slightly different than resource group point perspective. Secondly, when I play with this, if I'm not a click off guy, but when I work on this back and forth, I do realize I sort of stay in this sort of pain. Like I didn't really navigate too far away from this. I always, because I can from here, I can click on a service bus or something, and I can click back to this application. So actually a bit easier as well. The other cool thing in this thing is called business process. And the point of business process is like this. We want to document, so not we want to, the business want to. Hold on. It should be this one, yeah. So, yes, check. Yeah, the business want to document this business process. The first question, if you have worked on Logic App, how many Logic App workflow we will develop for this whole process? It's creating a ticket until it's work out the result, until customer receive a correspondence. It goes through CRM multiple states, multiple systems. So normally this kind of thing I have done more than 10 workflow easily in a Logic App. I'm not sure how much Dan has done in a Logic App, but quite frankly, one of the pain point was, however I name it, it's always named from someone different from someone else. I'm trying to see which flow I should go to edit. Because if I talk to the business, the feedback is always about the business process. And I need to go back to find out which one I want to do. And that's quite often this could end up multiple workflow, and it really gave me a lot of headache. But I just have been living as is for a long time until I saw this business process tracking. What it is, it's basically trying to give the business SME a view to see a high-level business process, and in different stages, and each stage they can link to a Logic App in different onto their actions. I'll quickly show you this one. I couldn't get the whole thing working. That's why you see 4 and 5 are actually different. I actually blank for now because I haven't trying to navigate back to one thing I like a little bit. So basically, this one I follow the Microsoft blog because to do the prep work is too much. That's why I kind of have to, and it's preview. Normally you will get something wrong, not working. So that's why I'm trying to follow them. But eventually I still only get partial working. The point is each of them is representing a stage. So as you can see, it's quite vanilla. A BA, even a BA or a business person could just create this very quickly. You just create, it's almost like logic app. You create a stage, name it sensibly, and then you say, this is the stage I want. So in this case, create a ticket, send an order finished, sorry, order dispatched, find a technician, they finished, they complete. And they will finish. I created another parallel one because you can do parallel stages. Kent, the Microsoft SME, also suggests you can for now use this parallel to handle condition stage because it doesn't really matter functionally. And then if you think about these stages and think about that big picture I showed, like I said, you can't do logic app in one go. One workflow can't do that. So that's why this one is good. And I'll do this. I'll show you this simple one. This one I did a linkage. Oh, navigate here again. Don't feel dizzy if I navigate. Systematic. Okay. Because I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out there's something didn't work for me, and eventually I couldn't figure out. I failed it in that sense, but I didn't blame myself too much. So basically, for each stage, we can link to a logic app, and when we select that logic app, we can select the flow within that. If you're not familiar with logic app and workflow relationship, let me know. We can talk offline. But basically, they only support logic app standard, and the standard will have multiple flows between one logic app anyway. So I have a couple, but and what this thing is trying to do is, so let's think about a BA. Sorry, a BA defined stage. A developer or the BA can quite comfortably especially developer could comfortably go in here to say that stage map to a particular action in this workflow. So I currently have this, resolution hinted me again. Hold on. Yeah, so can I get this thing? You can see here on this side, I have a few steps, right? And I have some parameters. And the last stage is send message. So I can say that stage will be that stage of the workflow will be determined by this particular step. And I think I can change it. Yeah, I can click any of them and they will change to that step. And
Try dragging it to the left, like the background. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. No.
Just drag. Bro. Yeah, that's why I don't know why. I thought I didn't leave like that. I must be sorry. Drag again. May use two fingers. And they can say, I targeted this workflow state will be determined by this state. And this state will be, the determined factor. The customer ID is something actually I defined. And I will show you later on what that is. And also, if you think about correlation ID, there is something correlation binding in between. In this case, I call transaction ID, and you can call case ID, incident ID. And this is trying to, and they will try to use this ID basically track all of the workflows in that particular stage, which is really cool. From BA and integration developer perspective. But then this is the part my thing didn't work. I couldn't. So supposedly, if I run the logic app, I give a transaction ID properly, just run it. It should show in the transactions view, but it doesn't work. So I just did a screenshot from Microsoft blog. Let's say we have a workflow run, and this is one case number. We run a case. This case number will go through all of the, you can imagine all of the workflow behind it. And the metadata, the data is carried across. And once the logic app is run, this is basically like a view of transactions, and they will show you based on the filters. They will show you the transactions, so that let's see. I'm imagining if I do UAT, I'm a bit sort of businessy person or UAT tester. Let's say I really care about that customer ID is correct or not. Obviously, I need to know this logic app runs successfully or not. It runs successfully because it's all green in this screenshot. And if I click on particular case, I can determine which metadata I want to track in that workflow, any of them. So because the stage can define a variable, they link to any workflows variable. That they're almost like logic apps, dynamic populating things, picker thing. So once I run that transaction, I can open that transaction to see is the value something I want to be. And then it's helping you to verify that too. You could potentially use that in a sort of support case too. But I think so far they don't recommend use this as a Uber support tool. That's why. But again, if you think about the stages, the point is, if you think about from a business non-technical user perspective, they can go into a stage. They can see sort of the workflow they are linking in, and even for me, I can go. Oh, we talk about the dispatch stage. I can go into that. I can go to that workflow because it can know where it's pointing to. In that case, I can see where I'm going to work on, and I can see how my work is going, and I can verify the value. So that's what this business transaction view is about. Yeah, so I think that's the second thing I want to talk about. It's actually I thought it's very easy to play with. And I realized there are a lot of nitty-gritties. I didn't get the whole demo works, but I think in a high level sense, the point is the business get a better view. If you can take that away, that's good. Otherwise, we can. If you know how to fix, you have a play with this before, and you can help me fix some certain things. I can show you how I did. It only supports logic app standard, and it also supports stateful workflow at the moment. So these are really businessy friendly kind of thing. The next thing, more interesting. We're back to Logic App again. It's a good tool. It's a very if you have worked on BizTalk and all that, this Logic App is sort of very good tool in cloud anyway. So when we talk about Logic App, you used to talk about low code. And the low code, obviously, the benefit is right here. We faster innovation, we do a proof of concept, or we do orchestration, and it's drag and drop. You can be a citizen developer to work on that. However, there is always a 80-20 rule, because our requirements always get a little bit more business rule to run. And one thing Logic App doesn't do is like the unit testing and all that is still not there. Arguably, this could be a really bottleneck for me to choose Logic App in certain complex spaces. They also obviously, when we do for each loop in certain cases, Logic App has a little bit of performance disadvantage comparing with code. And in that case, when we need that code, what do we do? I think our mentality probably live in this world anyway. What if we need to write code? We just write an Azure function that add Logic App invoke it. That's pretty common sense for us now, because low code, pro code, low code, pro code. That's our choice. However, I think it's a common sense. Nothing wrong with it. I take it as a common sense. But I think the product team probably challenged themselves. Well, what can we do better? Because we do have additional development to do. we do have a lot of resource to secure, to manage identity, whatever. There are a lot of things we need to think about it, and actually could be more cost. For example, up until at least sometime last year, I think logic app and Azure function cannot deploy in the same app plan. And then you still have to deploy to different things, app plan, which will have a bit more costs. And not to mention if we shift to other things, there will be more cost, right? So now we can do code, pro code. I think that kind of boundary is being challenged, and it's going to be interesting. I want to highlight currently is supports 4.72 .NET framework only, which why the .NET support is coming soon. And the reason I think when I watched the YouTube, so why they don't support .NET yet is because .NET 8 was released in around that Ignite, December, November time too, and they didn't want to get .NET 8 preview on top of another preview. But .NET framework, we can write C# code in the same thing, in a conceptual way. And in that case, we can do UGAS packages. And Logic App will support the parameters same as support any other action. And I'll show you, and I'll show you in a minute. This one. Cool. This is the one. Give me a sec. Close these. So when we create, oops, apology, it's not here. To create the Logic App is not too much difficult. You go to Azure. Yeah, and you create a new Azure Logic workplace. And you follow the workspace name. Take a little bit time, so I just created myself. The point is I need to create a I create a Logic App with an Azure local, what they call local function. Create a Logic App with function. That's how the code will be run. And if you look at this part, up to still here, one by one. So when we create a Logic App space for when we want to do Pro code, it will create two projects. One is for function, one is Logic App, and the function is a local function. And I'll show you where it's going to deploy it later. And the function will have C# name, a C# file, and then we can just write our, not really, too bad. Yeah, so I think we need to bear with this one then. It's not too bad. It's not a too complex code. So you just have a quick read. We just provide two input parameters. We do a quick functional conversion, recompose a output in a JSON in an object. Basically convert temperature. When you generate these functions out of the box, they will create this sample function for you. And then once we get this function project, it's not too much different than what we normally do. Like here, what I did is I do a .NET build because we need to build this function app. And once we build this function app, it will generate something in the Logic App. That's how it works. So we actually will have the DLLs, because the whole point is we are not deploying the code into Azure Logic App. We actually deploy the compiled version. And under this, you should see the compiled version is generated in .NET 4.7.2, and they will show you, and they will have a description file. This file, we don't need to read too much into it. It's mainly for the Logic App to read it, because what will happen then is Logic App will have a function, will have logic app will have an action to. It's this one.
I think you need to.
Yeah, I didn't choose design. What did I do? Chose the wrong thing, isn't it? Yeah, all right. Skip for now. Yeah, and this will be, can I drag this one? Yeah. Actually, bear with me. Local function. Yeah, so there is an action currently in preview, which is called a local function in Logic App. And basically, when you add this function, because we have a compiled DLL, we can choose this DLL name. This is a DLL. This is the project name we generated, and we can select that. And the good thing is they can pick up. At the end of the day, it's a C# code. We always have input parameter and output. The good thing is they can take Logic App can interpret the input, and we, so in this case, I did a quick sample into it and just hard coded it. And the Logic app should have output. After that, as you see, the Logic app, this time, yeah, well, you can roughly see there should be multiple parameters, but because of resolution, you can see only one by one. But the function's output can also be used by Logic App as the next step. So it's just trying to show it seamlessly deploying the thing. It can also, because they are in the sort of same workspace now, they actually also can be debugged in one go. So I put a debugger point. Oops, sorry. I think I attached it. Now, if I go overview, if I run this Logic app, yep.
Security boundary of those local functions. Are they only accessible by the Logic app, or are they publicly exposed?
I'll show you where it's deployed, and I will probably answer your question. Any what I think what I was trying to show, I don't know why it's network error, but basically we can put a debugger point just as per normal. I'll come there very quickly, Damien, because for example, I put a breakpoint in the C# code, I put a point in Logic app. If it works, the debugger will stop on the same session. So and then you can do F10, F11, whatever. So this is the benefits of Logic app and call the DLL. So that's why I think it's good to can call the .NET framework compile project. That's why I think it's worthwhile showing the benefit of that, because I'm sure these things are opinionated and everyone will not agree with each other how we do code, pro code from this point on, right? If I can show you, we deploy this Logic app to here. The function actually are deployed as all the assemblies are deployed here. Yeah. So I would say it's the security boundary of the Logic app.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like deployed the whole function in there, kind of. So that's why I think.
There's no external endpoint.
Yeah. And I'll show you this one.
Cool.
Yeah. This is really, I think, like I said, it will be opinionated. So there are two models. One's a centralized model now, which is traditionally what we do. If you couldn't forget about the word, if you don't get it, because I try to think centralized. I think it means a lot of function services are centralized as this side as a service. We provide a lot of code as services, and your Logic app just invoke it, and that's why, and you do require more governance side, and it's common. It's all common sense. On the other side, we have these, they call decentralized model. Basically, we can write our little worker as its own unity of work, and we deploy my own side. So this is called local function.
Yeah, local.
Yes, I think the boundary is really just mashed into one.
More secure for
And I think
isolated workloads.
yes, I think the local is relative to logic in my understanding. So yeah, so it's a unit of work. But the pull model means you can pull code from NuGet packages if you have some of the IP you want to use. There are sort of less dependency from a bigger picture perspective. I think this one I would use it if I have features, not a complex, not a whole service I need to write. If I reuse it, I probably will do an API. But if it's a function like that, weather conversion.
And only old school .NET.
For now, like I said, they didn't want to do .NET support because .NET 8 was on the horizon of preview. Yeah, and quite frankly, I recommend my client just do upgrade to .NET 7 for now. For certain things, just in case .NET 8 wasn't really at that time.
Wait for the
We all
wait for the new .NET Core version.
Yeah, we all play safer card. So basically, I think the good thing, one thing, just take on when I say that weather conversion or some of the functional conversion is really good for this case if they are not an independent autonomous function. I think the good thing is because I really like TDD. I really enjoy the testability, and quite frankly, there are big competitors. Their integration from platform is low code, but they can do unit tests. So I think with this, and the whole point of unit test is testing complex business logic. And you don't have to unit test everything, right? But with good logic, we can check into DevOps. The code repo is still in the repo. We just stick it into testability side, and you just run n units as is. So that's why I really like this one. Yeah. Any question on this one? Apology. Just conscious of time too. It is Valentine's. So there is a bottom line in the YouTube I watched. Both are acceptable. It's really depending on your requirements. And I just repeat the same thing. Just to give a disclaimer, no difference than anyone else say. I'm talking about stock market, but it's not for financial advice. It's really flexible. I think this is a good thing about Azure. It always gives us more options, and we can pick and choose. That's what I really like about Azure. So I just want to touch the last bit. It shouldn't take too much time, but the point is, there are a lot of AIs in integration services as well, and I'll quickly go through them. The point is, I do believe AI is going to be everywhere too, and without showing certain things in that AI side, is going to be kind of not cool from streamlined the theme perspective. And the first point is this Copilot thing. I noticed the Copilot is not for everyone, but if you apply for your organization, once it's turned on, yeah, I put for my other organizations too. But if you get approved, your whole tenant will get this function, which is quite good. I did have a play. Unfortunately, this laptop couldn't run it, couldn't access the Azure portal. So it's just a couple of screenshots I did, but I'll go through there. Just quickly on that Azure, the AI part. So there are two things I want to mention. If you know RAG, does anyone know RAG in the generative AI world? So the reason I mention this is Copilot. This first thing we talk about Copilot, build a Copilot for our clients, whoever. The first question is security. How does that work? This one is good. I think I did enough research. It should be the same way as how we normally design our generative AI things. So most of the current, if you download any Microsoft generative AI accelerator or listen to their talks, most of them talk about RAG, called retrieval augmented generation. in my own understanding and my own experience, it's really, if you're a C# developer, you think about this is like an interceptor. So basically, in a very, very simple way, it's actually more complex than that. But in a principle, we send a query to a search engine, such as Azure Search or Bing, or whatever search you want to search. You get a bunch of text back. That text will be thrown into the real large language model to filter for you, to beautify it, to digest it. And then they will return a response. You feel like using ChatGPT, but it's actually the content is from the original search. So most of the accelerator, if you pull one, they will download Azure services, and you will do form recognizer to retrieve a bunch of blog, and they will index it and then let Azure search. So when we do any generative AI thing, we always have a query engine or search engine behind the scenes. And on the other hand, is a large language model, which means the large language model, because it's in Azure OpenAI, right? It doesn't use your training data at all. And also the query engine, because the query engine is in our implementation. So if I implement the query engine for my customer, the security live in that secure search engine. So I only get the data I need to get and give it to the large language model. Same as Azure. Azure can read Azure documentation. Azure can analyze the Azure Resource Manager. They can interrogate the Azure portal navigation. All these things are done by, I believe, some initial engine, and then they will send the large language model to semantic, make them look beautiful. So from security perspective, there's really no difference otherwise. What user can do on Azure portal now, they can do in Azure Copilot. And what they can't do, they can't do. So it's all RBAC based, very solid. And like I said, they can interrogate and they can check costs. They can navigate Azure portal. I'll just quickly show a couple of examples. In this one, it's what I'm trying to show is the resolution is good. No, it's not good, but I'm trying to say, can you give me a CLI script to generate a storage account? And after it's generated that Azure CLI, I can hit the run, and the run will open the Cloud Shell. The Cloud Shell all going through that, and then you can run this Cloud Shell and provision that resource you want for you. So that's very interactive. The other quick thing I want to show you is if I want to query how much money I'm just checking forecast for my subscription, but because I haven't set the scope of the cost forecast scope, they will say they actually can help me navigate to the scope in the cost management, and I say I want to do forecast for this resource group, and they will literally navigate to the Azure portal and let me select the scope. You can actually use in certain cases, you can use Azure Copilot to modify your resource through a portal as well. They will do a confirmation. They will go to that page. They will turn on that setting for you, but they wouldn't say, well, and then you do a final check to say, do you want to do that? You click save. So it's quite smart. And if you ever get Azure Copilot, the first thing I recommend is just tell them, can you change the theme to dark or light? That's a no-brainer, and you just go cool. And I watched John Savio's video, and he said, can you change it back? And they change it back too. So which all of the ChatGPT is smart. The other thing I want to say is, if you don't have Copilot, there is one thing called Workflow Assistant for Logic App. And I wouldn't bother to show you the whole thing, but because I'll highlight the key. Hold on. Where's my page? Here. This is the Logic App, right? So it's only available in Copilot is only available in Azure portal. I checked my mobile app. I don't see Copilot in the mobile Azure app. This workflow assistance is the same principle. It's only available in Azure portal. If you go to Designer, this should be GA. You click the assistant, it's also used ChatGPT. Good thing. Copilot at the moment have limitation. You can only chat 10 chat ones every day, at least on mine. So this one seems doesn't have a problem. Second, even though it's called workflow, it's everyone can just click this one. You can play with it. There's no limitation, and the only just remember to click this one. The only reason they call it assistant, based on what I did the research based on what they said, is because the timing again, when the Copilot for Azure released with this one, they didn't converge on the name side, but they do have the intention. The team of workflow assistant do have the intention to converge in the future, or at least what I'm trying to say is there are no fundamental difference. And they the only caveat is, if you remember the Azure CLI, I can click a run. They will trigger in Azure Cloud Shell. Or I said, oh, you can navigate to the portal to your cost management or something. This thing doesn't do it. This thing will really just do literally what you're saying. How can I do something? They will interrogate documentation and tell you. Or you can say, explain this workflow for me. It will analyze the current context and analyze for you. It doesn't do work exactly for you. And same as other generative AI, it does hallucinate sometimes. Yeah, so that's the only thing I want to say. But this is really, if you think about Copilot Azure is something you are really eager on, this one is really good to try. And I have used that a few times, and my success rate is actually more than 50% at the moment. So just when I say, okay, this is really good for me. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I want to say today. I think the first is discoverability. We have an organizational API hub. It's internal only. Like it's just, it's actually can be secured as well. Second, we have instead of looking, each individual thing, we can look from a business application perspective. What end-to-end components we are using, and we can track the business process. Yeah, and then we have a new way to do pro-code with Logic App. Obviously, we have AI on it, and it's all streamlined because everything just looks nicer together and more visual, more easy to understand, make our life easier. And everything will help developers and non-developers, help the collaboration. I put a link, I know it's a bit tricky, but basically obviously the research go beyond this, but I think the most useful thing is one of these integration services YouTube playlist. It's released in November last year. You just Google this on YouTube. Sorry, search this on YouTube. You will see a playlist. The first file, the video is 5 hours long, but they also chop it into another 10 video. Most of the knowledge was from there. I would say 70%, and they actually go beyond. And you got to remember, like I said, this year they released almost major features to almost every product in AIS. And all of them are covered. And everything almost all of the things I said are covered in there. Apart from some of the small feature released like 6 days ago, obviously that won't be there. Because I couldn't get that business process stage working, I know it's not going to be very self-explanatory. So I know it's going to be convoluted. All you need to do is watch that. That will be really good. And just to know, there is a blog. Same Kent also published. So if you search Microsoft blog Kent and search integration environment, you will get that blog. And they have a reasonable detailed blog. And that's and Kent, if you Google, if you search Kent's name on YouTube, he also did an FAQ recently, because there's a guy called Michael Stevenson. He actually did a 1 hour video play with that business process tracking, and he actually gave a lot of input on it. And based on that, a lot of questions were answered by Kent. For example, how much does the anything, all this preview today is mostly free, but that integration environment is not because it's using the Azure Data Explorer. And also in the FAQ, he suggested how to save money. For example, you can use the test version of ADX, now save money. But yeah, this is really good start. I think if you can take away something, what I'm trying to emphasize, I really think Azure Integration Service is becoming even better in the leadership board in Gartner or whatever. And it's more and more friendly to business. If you, like I said, if you're a BizTalk person, you use BizTalk before, there is something similar to what BizTalk used to offer conceptually. And that really helps that integration platform become very big. And the continuous improvement on these things will be very, very helpful. And as an example, what I heard in this research is one of the things API Center will be going GA in March this year. So that's one of the example that they are doing faster release. That's it. I got my email there, and yeah, thank you so much. Good then.
Very much, Jia Ji. That was an awesome presentation. Yeah, right up my alley, the integration process. So, yeah.
Yes. I was very nervous.
No, you did a great job. Thank you. And people who come to Grunado, we really appreciate our speakers. So thank you.
I'll pass on to my wife.
Thank you for being on.
Yeah. Thank you then. Okay.
So yeah, thanks everybody for coming tonight and through the meeting, especially on Valentine's Day. So I imagine there'll be a spike in divorces happening this month. But anyway, we do hope to have a meeting next month. We may, if we don't get anybody who commits to the 13th, we might have to move the date a little bit if we'll do something. But I'm out of the country on the 13th, so might have to shift days. Just keep an eye on.
I've got a backup.
You got a backup? Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Oh,
So leave it on the 30th.
yeah, keep it on the 13th. Okay, fantastic. Well, good. So yeah, the only thing I ask of you is that if you brought a bottle in, make sure you bring it outside. That just helps a little bit getting up and have a safe trip home. We'll see you next month.